Bonjour everyone. As you all know, in this game there are plenty of different tanks that you must try. And the thing is, you can be kind of lost when you're a new player because as you can see there is more than 450 tanks in total, which implies that you maybe need some guidance for you to know which tanks are definitely worth grinding for, getting for you to have some fun. This is why in today's video I decided to do kind of a top where I'm going to select one tank per tier that is, in my opinion, the most enjoyable you can play. And to do that, I'm going to do it from tier 5 to tier 9 because below tier 5, most of the tanks are pretty similar to each other, even if some of them are definitely better than others. But from tier 5 to tier 9, that's where you're going to see the true spirit of tanks, and this is where the fun begins. So let's not lose too much time and jump directly into it. The first tank on the list I want to talk about is the T1 Heavy, an American Tech Tree tier 5 tank. This tank is the simplest of this list to acquire, and it's definitely one of the most fun. Simply because back in the days, it was not the best tank ever. Wargaming did it kind of badly because it was a really meh tank, you know. But all of a sudden, Wargaming decided, you know what, let's make it the most armored tank at tier 5. And nowadays, as long as you show only your frontal armor, you are going to be able to bounce every single tier 5, but also tier 6 from time to time. What is good about that tank, in my opinion, is that you're not going to get punished for your mistakes, or if you're punished for your mistakes, you're going to be punished lightly. And this is something really interesting because it's meant for newbies. You can play this tank and have some fun with it without having any skill. And this is what makes it lovely, and on top of that, it's a Tech Tree tank, so really easy to acquire. You have a good gun, not the best, but still an average one, and everything about the tank is average beside the armor that is completely broken. So if you want to have some fun, this is a tank you want to keep and reach and keep in your garage as long as you can. And yeah, from time to time, you still club to destroy some newbies when you're frustrated about tier 10 matchmaking, then this tank is the one you want to go for. What about tier 6, huh? We are going to keep it American because we're going to talk about the Hellcat. Same as the T1 Heavy, this tank went through a buff and Wargaming literally made it the best gun at tier 6. The main problem is that it's a glass cannon, which implies that with this tank, if you do one mistake, you are going to get punished for it, unlike the T1 Heavy. But beside that, when you learn how to play it, it's one of the deadliest tanks ever because your reload time doesn't match a regular tier 6. You reload in 5.5 seconds and you inflict 225 damage per shot. You have 2.4k DPM with this tank and you're a tier 6. Not even some tier 8 have that kind of DPM. So yes, you are extremely deadly, but you must know what you're doing. And this is something not a lot of players are aware of when it comes to this game, but hopefully one day maybe people will learn how to play the Hellcat. If you want some quick tips about how to play that tank correctly, I would say stick to the back like I'm doing right now. Try to circle and use your mobility rather than anything else with this tank. You need to play it subtle, sneaky, and hopefully you will be able to destroy everything on the battlefield. But truly, the Hellcat, once you know how to play it, is possibly going to become your favorite tier 6 tank because there is literally nothing that can beat his gun. At tier 7, one emblematic tank and historically emblematic tank to acquire is the Tiger 1. Because yes, in reality it was deadly, but in Blitz it's even more deadly simply because you have everything with this tank. You have an amazing gun, accuracy is OP, DPM is OP, alpha damage is great. You have a really good mobility as well with it. It doesn't feel like a heavy at all. It feels like a medium with maybe a small engine, but still a medium. And on top of that, the armor makes it so worth it. The Tiger 1 is definitely the GOAT of tier 7 when it comes to Tech Tree, because obviously if you're pay to win you can go for a Smasher or an Annihilator instead, but the Tiger 1 will always have a special place in my heart because that's my favorite tank ever historically talking. And in Blitz, Wargaming did it really well. They did that tank not as dirty as they did, for example, with the T95 or things like that. But still, the Tiger 1 is a tank you want to keep in your garage, and just because it was one of the most impressive tanks to ever fight in real life, you have, and it's your order. You have an order, guys, you must buy it keep it in your garage and have fun with it. I just hope Wargaming will sooner or later remove that ugly camouflage from Gamescom 2016, because otherwise, yeah, it's kind of breaking what the tank should look like in game with an historical camo. For everyone that grinned the Tiger 1, I have some good news for you, because the tank right after is the GOAT of Tier 8, aka the Tiger 2. This thing is in this list simply for the exact same reasons as the Tiger 1. Your mobility is really good, your gun is excellent, and on top of that, your armor is kind of broken, because most of the time, if people don't use gold shell, it's impossible to get penetrated. On top of that, you have a beautiful historical camo for once, and just for that, you must play this tank. But no, to be a little bit more serious about the tank, it's definitely a tank that will learn for the noobs how to play the game and how to angle their tanks, because the Tiger 2 is only effective when you don't angle at all. You want to show your frontal armor to your opponents, maybe wiggle a little bit your turret to make them bounce in your gun mantlet rather than penetrating your turret cheeks. But if you do everything correctly, you should be able to be the GOAT of the battlefield and literally destroy everything. Hopefully you will play it, guys, because it's definitely worth giving it a try. Finally, to finish off with the Tier 9, I'm gonna talk about the T-30, an American Tier 9 tank destroyer. What I love about this tank is that you can switch the playstyle. You can either play like a tank destroyer, because if you take a look at the class of the tank, it is a tank destroyer. But as you have a fully traversable turret and a really good turret armor, you can also play it like a heavy tank, because the tank you're seeing right now is based on the T-34, an American Tier 8 premium tank, and a heavy one. And this is what's lovely about this thing. You have a really good versatility with it, simply because you have 10 degrees of gun depression, which makes you comfortable on pretty much every single map the game has to offer. On top of that, regardless of where they shoot at concerning the turret, they'll probably bounce, because your turret is literally composed at 95% off by your gun mantlet, which will allow you to get some juicy bounces. You can hold the line, you can inflict quite a lot of damage, because your alpha damage is 640 or 800 like I did on this M5 using your max roll ability. And yeah, if you are able to play the T-30, you definitely want to give it a try. But make sure not to play too long, because otherwise when you're going to unlock the T124, you're going to rush back to the T-30 as soon as possible, because the T124 compared to the T-30 completely sucks. And that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. And also tell me in the comments, what's the best Tech 3 tanks, one tank only per tier you would choose for you to play with in order to have fun again and again, but also to be effective. I would be curious, because here it was only my opinion, even if I think that most of the players will join my opinion. And I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Bye.